Hello everyone, and welcome on in. Grab yourself a cheeky little coffee because we're diving into the first Krita tutorial. The name's Red Rage, or whatever the hell you're comfortable with. I'm a IRL painter and digital artist, and my channel's goal is to share with you what I've learned in a very special, silly, goofy way, because we artists all have a degree of insanity and we must embrace the crazy in us. The first thing I would like to share with you is about Krita's tool panel and what you can use them for. Booty butts. Before we begin, we gotta open up Krita and set up our canvas. You'll generally start with a screen that kind of looks like this. If you have the latest version installed, this one is version 5.2. If it isn't, I suggest heading to their website because it does not automatically update. You have to manually do it. So it's a good idea to check the website each month to see if there is an update, and make sure you have enabled the news panel on the right here. They will tell you where they're up to and what's popping. Now that you know that, let's click the new image. By default, you'll see the custom document is already selected. Head to the dimensions tab, and under image size, you will see the width and the height. For the time being, we will make the normal screen size. So pop in 1920 for the width and 1080 for the height, and we'll make the resolution 72 dpi. Yes, this is a lower resolution, but I'm certain there are plenty of people out there whose computers can't handle much more than that, because I certainly did not too long ago. My GPU exploded and burst into flames. Good old NVIDIA. Just excellent. You can save that image size if you want to. Just give it an easily identifiable name. For example, 1920 by 1080 at 72 dpi. Ignore the color modules, depth and profile, all that junk. These are by default the best options set by Krita, which are the most compatible with all monitors, screens and applications and all that jazz. So I'll just go into that later on because I don't really want your brains to explode just yet. Once you're in, we'll see the panel on the left side with a bunch of logos, which you can drag to resize because I ain't scrolling down. Man, that's a fucking effort there. So the first icon is the typical pointer. This special little guy actually only works on the vector layer. Yay! It'll be your favorite word by the time this is over. It allows you to select and move and resize certain points on a line without having to redraw things all over again. This is one of the many tools that I will go in depth much later on down the track. Next is text, your run-of-the-mill text box. Nothing too special, just click and drag the area you want to type in. You'll get a pop-up window, which will then allow you to adjust the font size. If you enjoy coding, click the SVG source tab and you can adjust literally anything and everything about the text, as long as you know what all the little squiggly lines mean. I myself can't do that, but I'll get there eventually, maybe. Depends how much effort I want to put in. The edit shape. This tool allows you to change the edges and lines of certain selected points. You can actually adjust the lines, directions, and curves, and more. But you will need a vector layer. Haha, it's your favorite word again. Once we do go into vector layers, which will be much later on down the track in another video, vectors will be your favorite layer and tools since the invention of anime. The moment you use the pen tool, it will actually automatically create a vector layer so you don't mess up your paint layer. Pretty much the same as 70% art programs that do have a pen tool. It only works on vector layers. You can use the other tools I mentioned earlier, which is the pointer and the edit shape. If you enjoy super clean lines, this is pretty much God mode activated, and this pen tool will be your love in your life. And the brush tool. Guess what? You don't need a vector layer. Yay! It actually doesn't like vector layers. It'll just throw a little sissy fit on you if you try to use it on a vector layer, so don't worry about that. This tool, you'll be using it 99% of the time. So give yourself some time to play around with all the brushes. Go nuts, go wild. There's a lot to discuss about the brush tool and what it can do. So I'll dive into that later on. I'll make a tutorial specifically just for brushes. Now you have shapes. This special little section has pre-made shapes like the square, circle, and polygon. This one here that I'm pointing to is called a polyline. You can make continuous lines till wherever the hell you want. And then when you're done, just press enter and it'll magically create the line for you. Perfect for buildings, super straight edges, like chairs or desks and tables. The similar tool is the Bezier curve. I don't know how to pronounce that, but yes, it's very similar to the polyline tool, except you can adjust the curves on the fly as you go. So if you only want straight edges, use the polyline tool. But if you want particular curved lines and shapers, use this tool, the Bezier curve tool instead. And we got the freehand path. This is very similar to the normal brush, except it has points you can adjust if you use a vector layer. Pretty much the same as a pen tool. And the dynamic brush, which is just underneath, is again pretty much the same as the brush tool. Wow, there's a lot of similarities. It's just a lot smoother and easier to control. Perfect for line art. So it really depends on your style to whether you want to use the pen, the brush, freehand, or the dynamic tool. And we have the multi-brush. Do any of you remember smashing a bunch of pens together and then just going ham on a piece of paper and then you magically create a snowflake? That is this, essentially. Or mandalas. Yeah, this is how you make them. Patterns. It's really cool. It copies your current brush and draws them alongside your original brush. And there's also other little tool options on the side here, so you can manipulate it a little bit more. And you can also do things that are symmetrical. So if you have, say, a face and magically both sides of the face are exactly the same, perfect. So you can use the multi-brush tool. It's a beautiful tool. I highly recommend giving it a play, especially with creating mandalas or patterns. It's a very smooth tool. And we got your typical transform. It's just your normal moving, basic resizing and warping. And then we have the dedicated move tool. I don't really use this tool, to be honest, but it does have a stronger focus on canvas coordination to pinpoint the exact position. So if, say, you have someone that's super mega fussy and they're like, it's 1 pixel out, I don't want it. Yeah, this will be your godsend. But yeah, I just use the transform tool. Next is the crop tool. Just like MS Paint, you can cut bits of unwanted hentai from your illustration. Don't know why you'd want to do that, but you can. Yes. And we've got the gradient bucket. You can choose multiple colors for your little bucket. You just head to the top here. You got your 2 colors here that you can swap to whatever color you want. And to the left here, you have a little drop down menu where you can choose any of the pre-made gradients, or if you want, you can just make your own gradient. You can add extra little points so that you can add more color variations. Go ham. You can edit it to your heart's content. Give it a good little tickle, okay? Play with it. Just do it. All right. And you lost the color you were using. That's totally fine. Use this little thing to take a copy of the color, or if you drag a picture and you want a specific color, use this tool to steal all the colors. Now we have the Colorize mask. This is a special tool that creates masks and kind of selections of the selected layer you have to fill in colors quickly. I honestly don't use it because I find it to be extremely buggy. So I actually don't use it at all. But I find the bucket tool to be much quicker and easier. But I will dive into the colorized mask just later on down the track, way later on down the track when it's not so buggy. And here we have the Smart Patch. This basically lets you delete an element in an art piece, and then it'll attempt to fill in the blank with the surrounding background, so it looks like it wasn't even there to begin with. So you can block out your X in those photos to your heart's content. The bucket tool. This is the bucket. Your bucket is your love, okay? Fill it with your color and splish it wherever you want to, okay? Yes. And then we have another quick way to fill. I use this one instead of the colorized mask. This will actually find the lines and boundaries for you without having to use the selection tool. So it's essentially the same thing. I just find it way less buggier and quicker. So much funner. Give it a shot. And the Assistance and Measure tool. They really should call the Assistance tool the Perspective tool. I don't know why it's called Assistance. It might just be a translation. I don't know. But hey, we all need assistance at some point. So this will help you draw up items that require accurate perspectives. You can have multiple point perspectives or just 1 point perspective, like tables or buildings or super intense anime poses. The Measure tool mostly is used in conjunction with the Assistance tool to ensure that you have the correct angle and distance. This can get quite confusing and complex. So again, another thing that I'll dive into later on. But keep it in mind for when you would like to dive into things that require viewpoint angles. And a reference tool. If you have a picture you've been inspired by or you're trying to work alongside with, you could use this to pin whatever picture your heart desires onto the canvas, but it goes outside the canvas. You can move it around wherever the fuck you want to put it without it getting in the way of your work. So you're not like trying to paint with a bloody picture in front of you. It's on the side and out of the way, and you can still see it. It's really good. I love it. And we're down to the selection tools. Mostly used for your favorite layer, the vector layer, basically. Or if you want to move certain parts of your paint layer, but most of the time you'll see yourself using it on the vector layer. But it works on both. So we've got the selection square, circle, and polygon, your normal typical shapes. And the freehand selection is treated exactly like a brush. You can just go around the edges of your art piece very meticulously and select the little bits that you're keen to change. And then we have the contagious selection, typically called a magic wand in other art programs. It just looks like a sparkly little stick. where it quickly selects open areas. And it actually finds the boundaries and the lines, but you can also adjust that to, bleed a little bit or extend, and you can also reverse it. So there's a lot of things to go into with the special little magic wand there. And we have the similar color selection, basically an eyedropper tool, except you're selecting the color, that one particular color. You can expand that in the tool option here to select similar colors, or have a feathered outside. So give that a play, just like all the other selection tools. It's just color, nothing else. Then we have the Bezier again. Curve selection, treated exactly the same as the tool, Bezier tool mentioned earlier. It just selects instead of actually paint. I don't use this very often because there's a lot of easier ways to select things. And we got the magnetic curve. It's pretty much the same as a freehand path tool from earlier. Except it's a selection tool. There's a lot of tools that are very similar to each other. It just depends on your style of, art and creativity. And then we got the last two here, the zoom and magnify. It's, your typical zoom in and out. And the hand tool is literally just to move the whole canvas around, including your actual art picture. So, just to see things a bit better. And that's it for all the tools in the tool panel. I'll be going over in much more depth some of the tools like the pen tool and the brush tool, but this is just the first Krita tutorial and I didn't really want to explode your brains with too much information without understanding at least the basics first. And I want you guys to play around with a lot of the tools, because that's what Krita is really all about, inspiring those creativity juices. I kind of want to teach you guys a lot more, but I can't teach you if your brain's exploded. That might be a little bit of a problem. Anywho, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was a good introduction to Krita. More to come, of course. So if you enjoyed the video, tickle the thumbs up or down if you want to, and let me know what you liked or disliked. I'm always keen to learn just as much as you. I want to see what you guys enjoy more or think, you didn't like. And tickle the cheeky sub button as well, so you can come back for the next video. Till then, I'll see your beautiful butts another time. Bye.